Greetings and welcome to my new calculus channel. My name is John Gabriel. So, in the previous video, I talked about Jerome Keisler's textbook, in which he printed a whole lot of nonsensical information about standard parts and non-standard analysis and whatnot, totally incoherent garbage. And somebody commented here. He said to me, a new subscriber here with an electrical engineering background, and I subscribe because I love to hear new takes, especially on things like considered facts. And he says, I'm interested to know if you have or can make a video that shows someone like me why your approach on the topic makes more sense than standard mathematics. So I'm going to try to do that and also show you why standard mathematics or mainstream mathematics is flawed, right to the core, by the way, and that there is no such thing as non-standard analysis or the so-called rigorous foundations with epsilon delta. Now, most professors of mathematics are a bunch of ignorant fools. I don't want to use the word morons. I'm trying to be less foul-mouthed. So, well, maybe I'm trying to use less foul language. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus on first the epsilon delta proof, showing you that it's flawed, and then give you an example, and then finally show you that I actually have the solution and why it pays to use my methods. So let's continue. Now, a long time ago, I published this article on academia.edu. It's called Why Your Calculus Lecturer or Mathematics Teacher is Most Likely a Buffoon. And so there was this, I presume, lecturer from Berkeley who uploaded this article trying to explain how limits worked. So this isn't his working here, this is mine. But I show you basically that his answer, delta equals to the minimum of 1 and E over 6, is not correct, actually. It's not correct, period. And I'll show you shortly why the answer for this is the minimum of square root of 29 minus 5 over 2 or 5 minus square root of 21 over 2, okay? Now, some will say, oh, it doesn't have to include all deltas. Yes, it does, because that's what the purpose of epsilon delta proofs are, to find a relationship between the two, okay? And to make sure that the conditions hold when you split this up into factors. So for example, if you take away 4, it's x squared plus x minus 6, okay? And that turns out to be x minus 3 and x plus 2. And so you've got to meet those conditions, okay? Now, so Lynn says here that it's the minimum of 1 and E over 6. Okay, now let's see why he's wrong. Okay, so many moons ago, years actually, I produced this applet where I showed you exactly what it means to use this definition, okay? First of all, the definition is a load of crap because it's circular, and I'll show you in a moment now why it's circular. And then second of all, 99.99999% of math professors who teach real analysis do not understand the topic. They don't even understand what they're teaching, okay? Now, let's first of all ask GPT, because GPT-4 has the latest up-to-date mainstream information. So I basically ask it to find, for this function, to give me an epsilon delta proof. So it goes down here, comes down to the end here, and then I ask it, what if you cannot calculate f of 1, which is the limit, by the way? So then it says, if you assume you cannot directly calculate f1, you can still use it. That's bullshit, as you'll see in a while, because that's exactly what it does. It uses 4 in the proof, okay? So it tells you to first express that in terms of x. So this is just pre-programmed algorithm by mainstreamers to push their toxic, wrong ideas onto you, okay? So, and then I said, stop, you cannot use 4 in your proof. That is the limit. So it says, understood. If we cannot use it directly, then we'll need to proceed from the definition without that. But then without further ado, it starts again, and in no time, it reproduces the limit again, okay? And it says, substitutes the limit in there and finds a factor, and then I stop it again and I say, look, you're stupid. You cannot use 4 anywhere in your proof, because to use this definition, you need to know the limit. There's no way around that. That's why it's circular, okay? You can't guess it and then prove it. You need to know it. How do you find it? Through your bogus first principles method, which, by the way, is what is defined this way in this prepositional logic. For all epsilon greater than delta, greater than 0, there exists a delta greater than 0, so that this holds. Okay. In other words, the distance between x and c is less than delta, and between f of x and L is less than epsilon. Okay. That's what it means. And by the way, there are many idiots out there who think I haven't studied real analysis. It's quite comical, because that's the first thing they say. Oh yeah, you didn't understand. I mean, I would just slap these morons silly. Oops, there I said it again. I called them morons. Okay, can't help it. There are morons, but maybe I should be more polite. Okay, now, so what does Lynn do? All right, he goes along and he shows why he thinks it's E over 6. But coming back to ChatGPT, I almost got sidetracked there. Again, ChatGPT tries, but again, it uses 4. See, in its planning, I said you cannot use it at all. And then again, it tries. Okay, so again, it tries over here. I said, my goodness, are you an imbecile? I said you cannot use it, but ChatGPT cannot do the epsilon delta proof without using the limit. Okay, so now I took Lynn's example and just wanted to verify that ChatGPT spits out the same as Lynn's. So I said, do the same thing for this function, x squared plus x minus 2, when x is equal to 2. Okay? And so it does all its little chugging along, brainless, dimwit stuff, and it finds, as Lynn said, the minimum of 1 and epsilon over 6. Okay? Minimum of 1 and epsilon over 6. Right. So now, ChatGPT proves to us that you cannot do it without using the limit. Therefore, it's circular garbage. So you've never had a rigorous definition of limit. And by the way, I've written a fantastic article called 6 Simple Reasons, and I'll put a link to it, why your limit theory is flawed. Now, as for Keisler's work, Jerome Keisler's garbage, is an infinitesimal approach. I've addressed that in the previous video, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Now let's go back to the applet. So as you can see here, if I move anywhere along here, okay, anywhere along here, and as long as I'm in there, we're okay. Do you see that? It says the distance between C and the green point is 0.086, which is less than 0.193, okay? And which implies that the difference between the red point, which is L, and the f of x, which is this green point, is less than 0.435, which is less than 1, okay, which is as required. If I try to step out of the gray area here, anywhere out of the gray area, like say there, well, like that, you see, the arrow's got a cross through it, okay, so you can't actually get out of that. You have to, and by the way, I had this made up as a point on F. So let me just do that again. It's easier to do that because then I don't have to worry about holding it. Okay, so now out on, not on F, on x-axis, you silly goose. Okay, that's on x-axis. X-axis, I'm sorry. Okay, maybe we'll get there sometime. Let's just see here. Whoop. Yeah. Okay. So now I don't have to worry about holding it steady. Now, as you can see anywhere in the gray area, but there's a little white area here, which it's not valid. Can you see that? Okay. That's why, by the way, that's why you take the minimum of the two distances. But of course, the area that the bounds that Keisler gives they're not valid. And you'll see why now. Okay. So Keisler says, take the minimum of 1 and 6, not 1 and 11. Let's just get a brush here, like this. Okay, so he says take the minimum of 1 is 6. Now, the problem is that if epsilon is 1, then you have epsilon is 0.1666, okay, continuously, or repeating, as they say. Then that is incorrect because there are epsilons within the region 0 to 1, okay, which are greater than 1 over 6, okay? And I give those solutions in my article. And the article is the one that I just showed you here, this article here, okay? Why your calculus lecturer or mathematics teacher is most likely a buffoon, and I will put a link to it. So the correct answer is it's the minimum of, let's see here, it's the minimum of square root of 29 minus 5 over 2 and 5 minus the square root of 21 over 2. Don't worry about how I got those. It's advanced math. You don't need to know how to do it. All you need to know is that that's the answer, and you can check it. And the main thing is that you can check it. And that turns out to be the minimum of, let's just expand this, the minimum of 0.192852 and 0.208. It doesn't matter what comes over here because we're going to choose that one, right? This one. Okay. This is the one we want. Now, we go back to the applet over here, and we see that that is actually what I'm using, okay? That's what I'm using. I'm using this 193. It's only showing 5 decimal places, so if I wanted to get more, I would probably have to say something like 10. Okay, right, like that. So now, but then you don't see this very well. So let's make this slightly smaller. How about we say make it medium instead of large? Okay. Okay, and then close it. Okay, so now you'll see that if you get very close to this part here, come on, very close to this part here, it gets closer and closer to the value that I showed you, okay? 19. Well, I'm going to actually show you that it gets to exactly where it should be. Watch. Settings. Okay. That will now become this, and I'm going to say, okay, it's going to be on the x-axis, but we need to have this here, and we'll say that divided by 2 and square root of 29 minus 5. Okay. If we do that, what happened? Oh, we have to add 2 there because that's the delta. So hang on, 2 plus. All right, that's better. And now, of course, as you'll see here, it's not valid. So but this is still above 1 over 6. But let's say we said minus 0.1231, like that, or even just 1. Who cares? 1 up, 1. Right. I said plus. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgot to divide that by 2. Oh, and I put it in the wrong place. I put that in the wrong place. I didn't forget to divide it by 2. I should have put that. Let me just do this again. I put it in the wrong place. I should have said that whole thing and then minus 0.001, like that. That's better. Okay. So now if you take a look up here, you have the implication error, and you see this amount, 192,582, which is pretty close to what I gave you, 192,582. Okay, so as long as you have delta is less than that, then you will always have that epsilon is greater than 1, okay? I mean less than 1, okay? Which is true, 0.999461568. And of course, it doesn't automatically follow, as I said earlier, that just because you have a certain delta over here, that it's going to fit in all the regions. And that's the reason you take the minimum. Now, it's going a little bit off there because it's not on the x-axis anymore. Okay, but if go back to that, okay. So what I'm showing you here now is that you have this value over here, and that's which is 19258, which is greater than 1/6. So you're missing out on, what are you missing out on? All the deltas between 1/6 and 29 minus 5/2, okay? And somebody might turn around and say, well, we don't care as long as the deltas that are less than will work. No, we do care because we're finding a relationship between epsilon and delta, okay? We do very much care. And if we're going to choose this value for epsilon, then we need to include all the deltas, right? Otherwise, we're not really doing what we're supposed to do, which is meet all the conditions, as we saw earlier on, which ChatGPT also was going on and on about. It said, let's see here, it says to ensure, let's see how we need to bound the term x plus 3, and to control that expression, we need to bound it when x is close to 2, x plus 3 will be close to 5, blah, blah, blah. So you get all this complicated crap, which is totally unnecessary, flawed, very error prone, by the way. And as a result, you see the final answer is wrong, okay? So it doesn't matter how much these mainstream idiots program or pre-train GPT, they still don't get it right. So, all right, so I've given you enough time. I've shown you very quickly now why your mainstream calculus is flawed. Why should you use what I tell you? Well, so please read the 6 simple reasons why it's flawed, because there's more than just the limit being circular. And then also access my article called The Holy Grail of Calculus. Okay. Now, the Holy Grail of Calculus comes from the historic geometric theorem. This is not new calculus, but it was realized from the new calculus. Be very careful when you're dealing with this. This is not new calculus. Okay. The new calculus, for example, will have a phrase like this. Let me just clear this out. Don't save. It'll have a phrase like this. Okay, so the new calculus will be f of x plus n minus f of x minus m over m plus n, and that's equal to f of x plus q of x m n, which, by the way, in the new calculus is always 0. In your Holy Grail, in the Holy Grail that I revealed to you, q of xh is never 0 unless f is a straight line, in which case this is rise over run, and it's got to equal to the slope or the derivative, okay? So you'll find a lot of revealing facts inside here, many useful bits of information. And I want to show you very quickly what somebody who is an electrical engineer has told me. And I'm going to go into and I'm going to reveal, without revealing his name, watch this. He said, more good news. Had another private lesson. This guy's a lecturer. He used to be a lecturer. He doesn't work as a lecturer anymore. Had a private lessons with a second-year engineering student. Today was the day I showed him how integration and differentiation are linked by the historic geometric theorem and the mean value theorem. Man's mind was actually blown. In his actual words, why do they not teach it like this? Well, the answer is they've never understood calculus. They don't know why it works. They're ignorant, they're arrogant, and the sad part is that they're incorrigibly stupid, okay? And that, my friends, is the reason why you're not using my brilliant methods and the things that I tell you, because I do know better, okay? So in this site here, you will find even a link to the historic geometric theorem. Okay, historic geometric theorem. You can search for this. I'll place a link to it. Sorry, geometric theorem. Let's go there. Okay, this is it. It's this guy here. Okay. So I'll place a link to that, and that is where the Holy Grail comes from. Okay. That is where the Holy Grail is realized from, and it's actually proved in this article. So why should you use it? Because you'll understand what you're doing. When you're using mainstream calculus, all you have, my dear friend, is the result. You don't understand why the derivative that you're using actually works, and how and why you got it is in fact correct, because the way you got it is incorrect. And when I was at school, I had a teacher who said, if you provide the correct answer without the correct working, it's wrong. I totally agreed with that teacher. Okay, and that's what happens in mainstream mathematics. Your professors are basically a bunch of apes. Okay, now I am a genius. I know people hate me saying that, but if you don't like it, nothing I can do about that. And I know what I'm talking about, and I do know better than you. I mean, listen, my IQ is above 160. That doesn't mean everything, but it's an indication that I'm much, much smarter than the majority of humans on this planet. Okay, that means you should pay attention to what I'm telling you and stop being a moron. Okay, or stop being stubborn and hard-headed. And yes, I don't need you to write comments that an intelligent person or a genius doesn't say they are. That's just a total load of BS. That's just your opinion or what you've been uh, exposed to in your social circles. It's not true, by the way. And am I arrogant? No. Am I confident? You bet your boots. Do I know better? Absolutely 100%. Am I certain that what I know is better and is correct? Am I certain that what I know is correct? Again, 100%. I mean, if you had to compare Newton to me or any of the previous greats, the comparison is like comparing an ape to a human. That's how much smarter I am than them. And you, by the way. Whoever you are, I don't care if you're a Fields Prize winner or an Abel Prize winner, you don't have my intelligence. It's as simple as that. So hold your 2 cents worth in the comment section. Don't write crap like, if you read Rudin's analysis, I read it before you were born, you little morons. Oh, there I go again. Sorry. You little dimwits. How's that? That's a little softer. Um, so I do know better than you. If you're not a red subscriber, become one. Click like, follow me on Academia, and I'll place links to everything I just talked about. My name is John Gabriel. Till next time, goodbye.